Hi everyone, thank you for joining today's PAVE Connect partner session with PsychArmor Institute, focused on resiliency in the military-connected community. My name is Dominic Lasorsa with Paralyzed Veterans of America's Employment Program, PAVE. For those of you who don't know, PAVE offers high-touch, one-on-one support to the veteran community to help them find meaningful opportunities. We support the entire veteran community, but specialize in those who have significant barriers to employment, such as those with a significant or catastrophic disability. PAVE Connect is our virtual engagement initiative where veterans and their families can access timely, relevant career information and employment networking sessions on their schedule and from any device. So a little bit more about today's PAVE Connect session. Today we'll be focusing on resiliency in the military-connected community, and we're joined by Dr. Heidi Kraft, a Navy combat veteran and the current Chief Clinical Officer for PsychArmor Institute. Dr. Kraft received her PhD in clinical psychology from the University of California, San Diego State University Joint Doctoral Program in Clinical Psychology in 1996. She joined the Navy during her internship at Duke University Medical Center and went on to serve as both a flight and clinical psychologist. Her active duty assignments included the Naval Safety Center, the Naval Health Research Center, and Naval Hospital, Jacksonville, Florida. In February 2004, she deployed to Western Iraq for 7 months with a Marine Corps surgical company, when her boy and girl twins were 15 months old. Her book, Rule Number 2, is a memoir of that experience. Dr. Kraft left active duty in 2005 after 9 years in the Navy. She currently serves as Chief Clinical Officer at PsychArmor Institute, a national nonprofit that provides free online education for those who live with, care for, and work with military veterans. Thanks again for joining us today, Dr. Kraft, and now I'll turn it over to you.
Obviously, as a veteran myself, as a former military spouse, as a Navy daughter, I come here from a number of different, I think, perspectives and lenses on the military connected community, what we mean to each other, how we deal with stress, the kinds of things that we've been through before, which is sort of the point of this talk. I think that what we have learned is that there is a great amount of stress facing the country right now. I think all of us know that. This is a unique and bizarre and really challenging couple of months that we've been pushing through this. And as we were originally sort of asked to think about ways to educate people about the best way to deal with these stressful times, I found myself thinking, we've been here before. Those of us that are part of the military connected community, and that's a big group, not just veterans, but their families, but their caregivers, their extended families, and those that have supported them and kind of become part of their culture. We're a big, strong group, and we've been here before. So what I'm going to share with you today is kind of what's been a culmination of the last few months of thinking about the way to kind of take a step back and relax our minds and say to ourselves, we know how to be resilient in the face of stress. Maybe we can share that with those that aren't part of our community. And maybe we can remind ourselves, because sometimes it's good to be reminded. So that's what I'm going to do today, remind you of a couple of resilience strategies that I know you know already, but we're just going to remind you. I'll take just a couple moments to take you through a couple of quick exercises that you can then do on your own, practice with your family, your teams, however that looks for you, but just kind of remind yourself that this is what the data says works, this is what you know work, and you have it within yourself. So this is a disaster response curve. We're not going to talk about that now, but the bottom line is that my opinion as a mental health provider, we will be trying to flatten two curves. We've got a virus that we have to try to get that curve to be flat, kind of stop the new infections. But we've also got this other curve that's around us now. And it's sort of an anxiety or fear curve, which has unfortunately been one that's kind of following this stressful situation. We need to not only manage this particular crisis well, but we need to be able to manage and expect to manage any aftermath of anxiety well. So we've got these two things that are going on. And I think it's important to acknowledge that it's more than just the stress around us. It's the anxiety that goes with that. So I have a little 2-minute video that PsychArmor put together. We have a lot of veterans and military connected folks in PsychArmor. What we do is videos, right? We do online education. So we put this little video together. I thought you might find it entertaining, and it could be kind of a launching point for what we talk about.
PsychArmor works to bring educational opportunities to the public on military life for active duty veterans and their families. For many of the PsychArmor family, the circumstances around COVID-19 outbreak feels awfully familiar. Fast-paced changes, uncertainty and anxiety, disruptions to daily life, and separation from loved ones have brought to mind our coping strategies we have used to manage the demands of military life. We'd like to share some of those with you today in hopes that this may help you get through this time. Let your voice be heard. Those in leadership positions need to know your challenges. So tell your story, create collective super allies. We are not meant to do this alone. Let's create community solutions together.
Whenever you get stressed out, remember to focus on your breathing.
My advice to you is to always remember how strong you are. Find the good in every seemingly bad situation and remain optimistic even in your most trying times.
Set a goal, stay motivated, just enjoy yourself in the process.
Remember to keep celebrating the milestones, even if they're a little bit late. Happy anniversary, my love. At a distance, or even virtually. Happy birthday!
Keep a journal. Sometimes it can just help so much to put your thoughts and feelings down on paper.
Hope springs eternal. Get out those depression era recipes and make nutritious and delicious meals for your family. And plant a victory garden.
Fitness is a great way to expel energy.
Smile and laughter. In our house, I have written smile on some of the mirrors in our house, and also humor, looking to laugh and find the lighter side of things.
Try to look for the bright side, even if it's just the light at the end of the tunnel.
You can look for different ways to connect with your community. For me, I volunteer with animals.
Creating and maintaining a schedule can help bring a sense of normalcy during these very abnormal times.
Working full-time while homeschooling your kids is really a big challenge. We've been tackling it by trying to get together every day to set goals and a schedule.
Get creative, achieving work-life balance.
Kitchen ping pong, coming in hot.
Things are hard right now. It's okay to not be okay. Be kind and patient with yourself.
So that's our little video. We enjoyed making it. And I think we thought that we sort of got it out there on social media. We thought that maybe this would start a conversation. Just reminding us as a military connected community what has worked for us before, and then letting that voice be heard. So when I put together this particular presentation, some of you in the audience today will say, oh, I know those things. I went to kind of the data. I'm a geek, I'm a researcher, and I thought, what do we know has taught us about our resilience in the past? Those of you that are connected to the Navy in any way, you recognize operational stress control. That was the Navy's way of describing the principles of resilience, which include those things like predictability and controllability and trust. Stress first aid came out of the National Center for PTSD and was based in these 7 C's. They include things like calm, connect, and confidence. Again, inner strategies to find your own resilience. And then psychological first aid came out of the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. And this talked a little bit more about safety and comfort, current needs, and connection with social support. So I sort of went back to these foundational ways of thinking about resilience. And I came up with kind of 3 primary things to share with you today. Again, you know all these. I'm just reminding you. So common themes and the ways that we can become more resilient in stress. Controllability. We're looking for hope and optimism. Both of these are highly related in the research with better medical outcomes, hope and optimism, finding gratitude and finding humor. A second is meaning, trust in ourselves, focus on the difference that you're making and find a way to find that inner calm. And third is connection. Again, trust in others now, reaching for that social support, even though it might look different now. So let's talk about one practical way that we can find that first controllability. And that's a gratitude practice. So data is really building now and supporting gratitude practice as a protective factor against all sorts of stress-related medical and mental health conditions. Starting a practice of gratitude in your life has been associated actually with decreased numbers of depression and anxiety cases when people can correlate that beginning of that practice in their lives. We also know it's associated with a reduction in burnout. So how do we do this? Well, I have a little exercise, and there's, I think now, how many people are on, Dominic? It's like 20 something, right? Yeah. Okay. I was going to try to do it with everybody, but I don't think we quite have the time for that. I'm gonna call out 5 names, and in a minute I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves and join me in this exercise so I can show you how to do it. Okay. So Larry, Rodney, Susan, Tammy, and Jean, go ahead and unmute yourselves, and I'm going to show with the 6 of us are going to show you how to do this. So here's an easy gratitude exercise. You huddle together with whoever's around you. So this may be your family, it may be your team, yourself, even just a couple people. And you go through this very quick 2-minute gratitude exercise every day. The key is here to say it out loud. So the 5 of you that I called are now on unmute. I am going to call your name. We're going to go rapid fire. We're going to each say one thing that we're grateful for, and we're going to go around the circle twice, and you'll all see how fast this goes. You can't say the same thing twice, and you can't say what someone else has said. Okay? All right. I've got some people laughing. I will start. I am grateful that my children are coming home from college this week. Larry.
I am grateful for a loving God in my life.
Rodney. We have Rodney on unmute. We'll come back to Rodney.
I am grateful. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
I am grateful that I'm healthy during this time of COVID.
Fantastic. Susan.
I am grateful for a really fabulous spouse to quarantine with.
Excellent. Tammy.
I'm grateful for the sunshine out today.
Jean.
I am grateful that my daughters and grandchildren are all well in Missouri.
Outstanding. I will go again. I'm grateful that we have this dog that we just adopted that's super sweet and is wonderful to be around us. Larry.
I'm grateful that my teenage son still says he loves me.
Rodney.
I am grateful for my family and their love and support.
Susan.
I am grateful that I don't have to worry about shelter and food like so many others have to worry about.
Tammy.
I'm grateful for my caregiver that came in and is still able to come in. So
absolutely. Jean.
I'm grateful that PVA is letting me work from home.
Outstanding. Okay, you guys can all go back on mute. Thank you so much for being my guinea pigs. So you've all seen what we just did there. It took 2 minutes. It took 2 minutes, right? For 6 of us to go around twice. I worked with a group at the hospital, at Navy Hospital San Diego, and they were ER nurses. And they said, oh my gosh, we get our whole teams together and we literally huddle before we hit the floor, before our shift. And we talk about what our goals are for that shift. And they were like, we could just do this instead. And we would hit the floor with a different mindset. Those of you who just did that exercise with me, do you feel different? I'm looking at you, Rodney. Do you feel different having just done it? Yeah. Tammy, I'm seeing you nodding, right? Larry, yeah, same. You can reach inside for a minute and think about how you feel and then do this exercise and then think about it again. I almost would bet my paycheck that 100% of you would say you feel different. It works. It's just one of those things that works. So consider this. The other thing to consider is a gratitude jar. You put a jar on your counter and you rip up a whole bunch of little pieces of paper. Every morning you write down one thing that sometimes you take for granted, but you're not taking for granted today, right? Put it in the jar and you watch your jar fill up. And every morning you see that jar is filling up more and more, and it changes your perspective. So a couple different things to try. We know gratitude works. We've got lots of data behind it now. It builds resilience. It makes us more healthy. The second thing to think about as something to take away is mindfulness. So this is that calm, that inner control where you actually get to find your own inner peace. Mindfulness is a specific type of that inner peace, and it's an awareness of being in the present moment. You practice this without judgment. You accept exactly where everything is around you. You keep yourself curious, a willingness to go wherever it takes you. Mindfulness practice is all about reducing stress. It's all about making us stronger from within. The data is really building in mindfulness practice. It's being used as an adjunct for treatment with a lot of actually very significant problems like PTSD and traumatic brain injury and depression. It's adding effectiveness to protocols that have been around for a long time. We know it increases people's ability to sleep. It actually increases your ability to find those things you're grateful for. It increases your ability to communicate. It helps increase social connections. And it's a really important thing to adopt that practice into your daily schedule. Just a couple of minutes a day. Let me go back. I thought I was ready to, okay, so we'll stay on this one. I'm going to take you through now, if you'll let me do it, a 2 to 3 minute mindfulness exercise. So everyone just settle in wherever you are and get as comfortable as you can. And if you'd like to, you're welcome to close your eyes. If you'd rather keep your eyes open, that's fine too. And just for a moment, focus on that breath that is entering at your nostrils and filling up your lungs. And just pay attention to the way that breath feels. Cool as it enters at your nostrils, how it feels for your lungs to fill up. If you feel any other sensations as your lungs fill up, if you feel maybe the muscles in your back and shoulders, maybe they're tingling a little bit as that extra oxygen kind of touches your body. Pay attention to that breath as it leaves your body. As you exhale, it might feel warmer. And just really let yourself be there in that breath. And in that moment, allow yourself to focus for a moment on you, on your ability to take this breath, to fill your lungs with oxygen. And how in this moment, that's a really important thing to be able to do. That you are strong, you are unique, you matter very much. And in that breath, allow yourself to say, for this, I am grateful. And allow your focus to move to what's around you. Wherever you are today, both inside and outside, both structural and natural. The world around you is full of things to discover, of beauty, of peace, and allow yourself to think, for this, I am grateful. And then allow your focus to shift to a person that matters to you. Maybe a spouse or partner, a good friend, a child, a parent, someone who has made you feel loved and cherished. And focus on that person for a moment and how much he or she matters to you. And say to yourself, for this, I am grateful. One more comfortable breath in, paying attention as your lungs inflate and release that breath. And allow your eyes to open. That was about a 4-minute mindfulness exercise. I kind of combined it with gratitude a little bit since we just talked about that. But really, mindfulness is just not having any judgment, just being where you are and taking a few moments to pay attention to that, just to breathing or to the way your body feels in the chair. And that's mindfulness. It's that simple. It can be just a couple of minutes a day, and it can make a difference to your health outcomes, to your mental health, and to your perspective. And certainly, it is a tool that we know builds resilience. Finally, a couple of things we are positive of. Connection matters. Social support is such a protective factor against things like heart disease and diabetes and hypertension. We know that social support is actually as strong a factor in protecting people against stress-related mental and medical problems, that it's just as important as quitting smoking. That's what the data says. That's how important it is. And when I say social support, I'm not talking about the number of people that you have on Facebook. I'm talking about a couple of connections that you know you can trust, that you know you can depend on. It is directly related to being able to buffer that stress response. Now, military connected community, we've always known this. We've always watched out for each other. That's been our history. So what is important now, as we are faced with this extra stress of isolation and social distancing and not being able to be in groups, it is important to pay attention to those connections as you can find them, to make an effort to reach out via text, via phone, via video chat, whatever it looks like for you, to make an attempt to reach out to people. Ask how they are doing and allow people to ask how you are doing. Surround yourself, even virtually, with people who understand kindness and compassion. Check in with them, with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your supervisors. Check in, get consultation as you struggle with some of these things that are all around us. Find groups to connect with, whether that's your neighborhood, your family, your colleagues. At this point, it's extraordinarily important. schedule time to do it. If you have just a couple of people that you really know make you laugh, make you feel unique, schedule a time, put it in your calendar, just like you're putting your exercise in your calendar or your other self-care activities, which, by the way, have to be scheduled. It's a whole different talk. Put this in your calendar. And then get on the phone with them, get on a video chat with them, get on FaceTime, whatever it looks like, and tell stories. Tell your stories. Allow them to hear how your story is changing and listen to theirs. Tell those stories of the little small successes that you've had. Hey, I'm really proud of myself. I scheduled myself 20 minutes to do some mindfulness today, and I actually took the time and I did it. That's a small success. Share that with someone. Share the things that are giving you inspiration. Someone said, I'm very grateful that it's sunny outside. Share that. Share what it means to have sun outside for you. Share what it means to have that spouse that you're grateful for, or the fact that you're allowed to work from home and still stay employed. Those are the kinds of small stories, small victories that are important to share. They build us up and they inspire others. Practice gratitude with those people. Go through the little gratitude exercise I just did when you're with your group, whatever that looks like. If that's in an in-person social distance circle, or whether you're on a video call or a phone call, you can do it anywhere. Offer it as, hey guys, for 2 minutes, let's do this. I guarantee it changes things for you. Together, it brings you into this optimistic, supportive environment. Anything you can arrange, we'll take it. Put it on your schedule. Connection is vital right now, more vital than it's ever been. We can connect. It just looks different. A couple things to keep in mind. Taking control of the part we can control is huge right now. And military connected people know that because they're used to deployments and changing duty stations. Like, we think we're going one place and then the Navy says, no, you're not. You're going over here instead, right? PCS moves, the movers change, they come at different times, our stuff gets lost. We are very used to, we get there, the kids can't start school because that hasn't been, right? So we're homeschooling for a little while. We've done this before. Most of us would say, yeah, sounds pretty familiar. So what do? We can control only what we can control. Right now, none of us can control this virus, right? But we can control the parts of our lives that have our ability to change them. So focusing on what we can control and making changes that make a difference for you. Also focus on the difference you're making in other people. When you set up that little social support group and you go through that gratitude exercise and you see your friends smile, give yourself a pat on the back. You made a difference. Every time you reach out to somebody, let that person have a few minutes to vent. You're that ear that's going to be supportive. That's good. You're doing a good thing. Notice those small victories. Point them out in yourselves. Point them out in other people. When someone checks in with you and it makes you feel good, tell them. It's time right now, when we're trying to be as resilient as we can, it's time right now to really sort of go overboard with pointing that out. Pause to pay attention to yourself, to your family, to what's around you. Take a few breaths and be grateful for those breaths and be grateful for what's around you and those little small victories. Schedule time for it. It's so important. We all sit on our Zoom calls all day and try to sort of manage all of this. Schedule time for your self-care, whatever that looks like, whether it's meditation or exercise or music or journaling or a time to just chat with a friend for a little while, whatever it looks like, put it in your schedule. I'm sure you've heard me say this 15 times now, so it's the one thing you're probably going to walk away saying, that woman was serious about the schedule thing. And I am. I've been doing health psychology for a long time. When you're trying to make changes, you have to schedule it. Give yourself what you need. And know, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Give yourself what you need and know that it is okay some days if you're not okay. That's all right. Every variation of normal is in front of us. It was when we were in the military too. And so sometimes you're okay and sometimes you're not. And all of that is good. Give yourself permission. Know the resources available to you. I know that PAVE Connect has a lot of resources available to you. We're another one with some educational videos on specific things. If you want to learn a little bit more, there are a lot of places out there that are willing to help. Remember, this anxiety curve is kind of coming over us along all of this. So it's okay if you feel a little anxiety. That's pretty normal, I'm going to say. As a clinical psychologist, we're all there. We're all on that continuum. Connect with each other. What we're doing right now, I love doing that little gratitude exercise with the 5 of you. That was really cool. I felt like we connected. And I hope the rest of us on the call felt that too. Know that it's possible. We know how to connect with each other. We just have to make it happen. If you're worried about someone, don't wait. Ask if the person's okay. And if the answer doesn't sit right with you, get that person some help. Sometimes we need a little bit of extra help, especially when things get stressful. When you're ready, just move yourself forward through this. We have what we need. The resiliency is there. It's just a matter of reminding yourself of a few things. And that's pretty much it. For all of what you do, for all of you and what you do, from those of us at PsychArmor, especially as we're heading into the season of gratitude here, thank you for all that you do. I would love to now, I think I did okay on time, right, Dominic? Okay. Went a little bit over, but would love to have the chance to hear your thoughts or questions and have a discussion. It's a small group, so I'd love to just chat however you all want to do that.
Thank you so much. That was a great presentation and definitely left me with some good ideas. And I will open it up to everyone on the call for any questions. You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, this is Jim. I've got a question for you. What are some suggestions if something that isn't very good happens? Say someone gets sick or someone loses their job. What are some of the strategies you'd look at for some of those connection things? I know some of them would fit right in, but how would that list change?
Yeah, well, obviously, as stress gets greater and greater. So what you're talking about, if someone is sick in your family or you're sick or there's financial stressors on top of this, stress then around you gets greater, right? So it gets harder. I'm not going to lie to you. The more the stress around you goes up, the harder it is to kind of find these inner resources. So this is where we need to depend on our social support to be able to help us, to be able to, and take the help, reach out to people and allow them to remind you of those things. So again, sometimes we're going to have to, this is a challenge. How am I going to force myself to see the optimism here? How am I going to look for the part I can control? I can't control that I just lost my job, but I can control that I'm going to start looking for another one. And here's the way that's going to work. So you change your locus of control. You switch in the military, we would say we recage our gyro, right? Those of you that remember that. We're changing our focus, right? We're turning our focus to a different place that we can control. Same thing with dealing with medical illness. What part of this can I control? What if the doctors said that I could do to heal faster, right? Or what can I do to get more quality of life as I'm struggling with these symptoms? So it's all about shifting your perspective, which is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. But I think with reminders, we as humans are capable of doing it. Other questions? Did you like the meditation exercise? Yeah?
I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any recommendations on how to better support someone that's going through something? Right? You mentioned at the end, like check on your friends and family and coworkers, whoever it is. But if you don't get the answer that you want to hear from them, what's the best way to get them support?
Yeah, this is sometimes hard because we're still up against a stigma, right? A lot of people feel like they don't want to reach out for mental health support, and especially those that are connected to the veteran world. We are a bunch of stubborn people, and we have a lot of stigma around seeking mental health support. So I really like the line, "It's okay if you're not okay." And someone said it to me when I got home from deployment. One of my corpsmen said it to me, actually. And I love it. I've continued to use it because I think it's sort of all encompassing in this really nice way of giving someone permission. And sometimes we just need someone to give us permission to just have it be really hard right now. And so that's a start. Then you kind of, now you've got they know that you're giving them that permission. Now you're going down kind of the road of additional questions and additionally checking in. If you are really concerned, Dominic, that someone is having suicidal thoughts, this is a whole different talk, right? But at that point, I know it's super hard, but if you're really worried about someone, the thing to do is ask them directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? And there's no other way to do it. If the answer is yes, you immediately get them help, whether that, if you're with them, you stay with them and call the National Suicide Crisis Line or the Veterans Crisis Line or 911, right? I mean, it's a medical emergency at that point. It needs to be treated as one. If you're not with them, you can actually, again, call 911 if you know where they are. So that's the far end of the spectrum, right? And then anywhere before, in front of that, anywhere not a medical emergency, but someone that just really needs that support, I think it's all about giving them permission. It's sometimes things get really stressful and we need additional help, and that's okay.
Hi, Dr. Kraft, this is Lauren. Oh.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Rodney, I will always defer to you. Please go ahead, sir.
Well, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate your presentation. I did have a question on one of your slides. I think it said something about venting is okay, even though that's not necessarily positive or optimism, that is okay?
Of course. I mean, I think when you're in a social support situation where you're all together and this is a group that you can trust, that of course we want to also, sort of engender optimism by sharing stories of hope and victory and kind of what's going well and inspiration. That's actually the goal. But sometimes you get together and things have been rough for everybody or for a couple of you. Healthy venting can actually be very, very therapeutic. So there's nothing wrong with it as long as it doesn't turn the whole group completely negative, right? You don't want to let it do that. So you want it to be healthy. You want it to have the goal of releasing some tension, getting some support, and then maybe having some people turn it around for you and saying, wow, that's rough. You know what has worked for me? Or you know what has worked for someone else? Try this. How about this? How about this? And now you've moved it back towards kind of moving in that optimistic or hopeful way, which is the goal. So, but no, nothing wrong with venting.
Thank you.
This is Lauren. I have a question. So, do you have any recommendations on how to kind of start the practice of meditation? Before this, we were kind of talking, I'm a big runner. That's how I get my energy out. But I've even found in the last 2 years that I spend a lot of my time, and my colleagues are all going to laugh at this, listening to podcasts, because it's a time when I can kind of get my nonfiction itch out and I can learn more. So I'm finding more and more ways to fill my time rather than finding ways to not fill it, right? Just to sit and be quiet and to think about things. But I think about meditating and I'm like, wow, that's great. Like you walked us through this, but my phone's buzzing, the cat's coming around. Any suggestions on how to get into this? How you start that, a minute is good and then 2 minutes and then 3 minutes or anything like that?
It is. So meditation is hard. The practice of meditation is not easy. We all have, our minds are racing all over the place. So what I have always done is I have this image of myself kind of walking off a path, like I'm walking along on a path. I see myself, right? I'm walking on a path and then I veer off the path. And then I'm able to kind of put my arm around myself and bring myself back on the path. It's okay, right? It's no big deal. If you start to, kind of drift away and you're thinking about other things, just be non-judgmental of yourself, right? Oh, it's okay, come on back, right? But yes, for many people, starting with like 1 or 2 minutes is a really good idea because you can succeed at that, right? And so there are a number of really good apps out there. Calm is one that people pay for. I don't know how much it costs, but it's got a lot of meditation ideas. But the VA has a free one, mindfulness app, mindfulness coach, and lots and lots of options that you can actually just listen to, and it can take you through it. As you're learning, and sometimes it's helpful to be guided. So that's one way to start. And a lot of people love that and just do that for their mindfulness all the time. But the idea would be to practice it. It is a practiced skill, and you get better at it when you practice it. And then you'll get to the point where you can actually do it. Interestingly, a lot of people meditate when they run. And you may be meditating even though you don't know it. But I actually have a book on like meditation during exercise. It's actually a thing. And so what you could do, since you're a big runner, is give yourself just 1 minute on your run, and be aware, pay attention to your feet hitting the pavement, or be aware of the air as it's touching your face, or find something that you pay attention to for 1 minute, and then you can turn your music back on, right? But just, it's actually a time when a lot of people meditate. So for what it's worth.
No, it's when I do my best thinking. I fortunately don't make my colleagues run with me or listen to me run, but that's a really good idea, is just to turn it off for a little bit, focus on just the run, and then give myself permission to go back to the podcast or whatever that I'm listening to, especially since it's getting dark. Thank you very much. I appreciate
I know
that.
some people actually count their steps, and that's a meditation too. If you think about it, you're just focusing on your steps, and you're going to count to 30 and then then stop, but it focuses you in. You're in that moment, paying attention to your steps. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but I think I have seen multiple hands. Okay, Alicia.
Hi, how are you? I have a question. Thank you for the meditation. It was awesome.
Good.
The question I have is there anything in place for veterans who would like to connect? I have been, since about April, I've been attending like Zoom meetings with like CODA, different anonymous organizations. I found them to be very helpful. And I'm not saying like I'm looking for an anonymous, it could be, but something like that for veterans. Is there something in place where veterans can connect, and even if it was different times, of the day available, that we would have that opportunity to connect and, share and, even help each other to heal? Is there something like that in place?
I think that is regional and local. Like I think yes, for sure they're in place. I think that as far as my understanding, the national VA at the moment probably doesn't have something like that that's national, just because it would probably be too big. But regionally, there are, and in your local area, there are definitely different veteran support groups. The VFW I know does it. I know the local VAs have a number of them. The vet centers a lot of times will have support groups, and all of these are probably virtual now. So there's female veteran. If you go through your state's kind of veteran disability area, I know I'm connected to the female veterans of San Diego that have meetings. So there's tons and tons. It's just a matter of finding out in your area what's happening. And there may be others on the call that have specific, I think I saw some folks putting things in the chat. So you may have some ideas coming your way even as we speak. Anyone have any other ideas on support groups or groups of veterans that are getting together right now?
This is Tammy. There's quite a few of the women veterans organizations are having at least monthly Zoom meetings or get-togethers with the ladies in the regions, like you said, ma'am. It's so it's just a matter of reaching out to them and that. So
Yeah. Does that make sense, Alyssa?
And Veterans Breakfast Club, if anybody has a local chapter.
Oh, Veterans Breakfast Club. Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some others raised their hands. Larry, were you one of them?
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. It's been wonderful to have you. And Alicia asked a question similar to that. And I'm only curious because I know you're a specialist and we really appreciate your time, but somewhere between the friends, because you did mention how important community is, meditation and gratefulness. So could you mention some of the research or at least the findings as far as those groups that are between family and friends and a professional, such as there's a lot of 12-step organizations out there, churches, other things that are out there for us? The veterans one is a great question, but you know what I'm asking about. Thank you.
Right. I think what you're asking is, how do we define social support? Right. So the data says and it's decades now, like tens of thousands of studies that have shown that social support is protective. But what do we mean by that? What does that mean? And what has come up is that even just a couple of places that a person feels connected, a person feels like there's someone there that they could connect with or trust, that person, there's someone that would be there for them. And so for many people, this can be their church, or it could be a 12-step group, or it could be a support group, people who understand them. It doesn't have to be family. For some people, it's not family, right? Family isn't supportive. So they find that support somewhere else. The key is to find it. And it doesn't seem to be, it's not defined. Like this idea of social support is not a clear definition for everyone. It really is what matters to you and where you feel safe and where you feel understood and where you feel that warmth, that connection. And it will look different literally for everyone. So I just want to give people permission to find that connection wherever it feels good for you. So I think, did I answer your question? Okay, awesome. These are all really good questions. Do we have any others?
I have a brief comment. Hello, everybody. I just want to talk about PBA and what PBA has done to help me keep me straight. When this whole thing started, I like to read. I do, but I read like technical stuff, not necessarily books. And I saw that Mary and the guys were going to have a book club. And I said, okay, I know them. I trust them. I'll give it a try. And I joined the book club. After I was so busy that I didn't get a chance to read the book, I said, can I still come on and say hello and see all your shining faces? Because I needed that connection. I'm single, I live alone. I needed Mary, I needed the group just to allow me to be present and be part of it. And as I typed about the yoga with Dr. Lee, 30 minutes changes my day because she reminds us to do the same things that you mentioned, Dr. Heidi. She brings us in together. You do what you can do, seated, standing, however you want to do it. And she gingerly walks us through a process that allows us to breathe and refocus our minds on the gratitude of the day. So I'm grateful for what PBA has available right there on the website. All of those classes where you offered air rifle, all that stuff, the questions that I want to ask at the games, or I'm too ashamed to ask because I don't want to sound like a dummy. There it was, all there right in front of me. And I could reach out to those people that I see at the games or people who are professionals in those areas to help me be not only a better athlete, but to calm myself down and know that this too will pass. It will, and it is manageable. And that I have to make the choice to reach out and find, as you said, Dr. Heidi, what really works for just me. Sometimes it's just Netflix and the couch. And sometimes it's just calling someone to say, you know what, I was just thinking about you and I'm sending you some love, and hang up the phone. Sometimes that's all it takes. You know, just being able to give to someone else can be empowering. But I thank PBA for what you've done to keep me focused and keep me grounded. And I love your presentation. Thanks for the reminders. Thank you. Great presentation.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm so glad that PBA has been such an amazing resource for you. It sounds incredible. Larry?
That reminded me, and I really appreciate everybody's comments. That really reminded me. And you said you're into data, and me too, and research. And that brings up a really good question, because I've noticed that changing the kind of series I watch, seems like Star Trek is the only thing that has a positive future for humanity from all of these doom and gloom things. Has there been any research to show that the types of series that people watch has to do with their mental attitude? You talked about hopefulness and desire for the future. And if I watch things and everybody's just continually stupid, and everybody dies and everybody hates each other, and the betrayal, oh my God. You know, I can't understand why people would watch that stuff, but they do. And then so I asked my friends, well, why do you keep watching it? Anyway, is there any research to back up my feelings yet?
I don't know the literature if it's there, but we certainly know the literature on violent video games, violent movies, and that correlation to aggression, irritability, depression. So that literature's there. I'm not sure about series right now, but you're right. There certainly are series that a lot of people are watching as they've been quarantining that are pretty violent and pretty rough. So I don't think we have those data yet specifically on series. But it would be interesting, because it's gonna kind of be intertwined with the whole social isolation thing, which is a whole other risk factor, right? So I'm sure those data are coming. I don't know them at the moment. Anything else?
I have one more suggestion. When he talked about television, I turn the TV off. I have rabbit ears. I don't have all that cable, but I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch a lot of educational PBT and stuff like that. But there's this one show that comes on that's called Escape to the Country. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's a British thing. I can put that on when I'm feeling like I want to pull out my locks. And the rhythm of the voices and the vision, and everyone in this Buy This House thing, Search for the House and Escape to the Country in England, are all so grateful. Everyone is saying, thank you, I appreciate it. Oh yes, let's go see. It changes my whole dynamic. I just had to let you know if that's a good thing. It's maybe funny for someone else, but it works for me.
There's some good shows out there. Absolutely.
Dr. Kraft, this is Maureen Elias. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I have a question for you. When resiliency and when mindfulness aren't getting us there, what are some of the signs that we should be aware of when it's time to go get professional help?
Excellent question. So I think the key thing is when you sort of know your baseline, right? You know what's standard for you, because we're all on a different continuum here. If you start to feel like your mood is sad more than it's not sad, or you start to feel like it's really hard to find hope, or those things that used to be fun for you, like this great TV show that Twyla was talking about, if suddenly she finds herself thinking, I have no desire to watch that anymore, that doesn't give me any pleasure, I don't have it, that sort of the things that used to give you joy don't give you joy. Those are kind of the key signs that depression is really taking over. So that's when I would definitely seek professional help. Or if you're starting to have panic attacks, right? So the anxiety kind of takes over and it starts to become something that is a big, big part of your daily life, worrying about that next panic attack or worrying about going anywhere, that kind of thing. Then yeah, professional help can probably really help at that point.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And certainly any thoughts of suicide is a medical emergency. So I always have to, as the clinician, I can't let that one go, so.
All right. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time, but first, I just really want to thank you, Dr. Kraft, for joining us today. This is a really meaningful session, at least for me, and I think for everyone online. So thank you again. And everyone who's on here, I will be sharing the presentation of the recording with you tomorrow, and I've copied all of the links that were posted in the comments, and I'll share them in my email as well. So thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope you'll join us again for another PACE Connect session.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care, y'all.
You too.